Today's guest takes pics. Joining me now, it's Josh Strong. You've seen him everywhere at a sports game with a camera that's smaller than mine, just to give you a great idea of what he's up to in and around Minot. But you're from Glendale, Arizona, right?
Yes.
So what makes that a go-to spot for Minot retirees, would you guess?
Probably the weather for sure.
Big time, the dry heat?
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed just living there that, in our winters, quote unquote, a lot of snowbirds come down and traffic kind of picks up. But I don't blame people. It's definitely nice now knowing, having moved up here, what a real winter looks like. It definitely sometimes miss home in the winter months.
I was going to say, how do you land in Minot, and how does an Arizona guy, deal with that adjustment?
Well, I originally came up here because of the Air Force. I got stationed up at Minot Air Force Base in 2015. Was in the Air Force for 4 years and recently separated, and now I'm going to Minot State. And the acclimation was pretty much forced. I mean, you have no choice, obviously, when I was working in the Air Force, but to just kind of get used to it right away. So I luckily got here in August on the brink of what people told me was a mild winter, but for me it was definitely not mild. But luckily I wasn't tossed right into really bad winter. But my second winter up here was pretty bad, but luckily I had it easy for the first time.
You've had like a brand new worst career winter after like every single year you've lived here, or what?
Yeah, I think so.
Basically. Yeah, that makes sense. What did your military experience add to your life, in your opinion?
Definitely, I would say a lot of learning experiences. Like, it's kind of nice now, going into career number 2, that I kind of have an edge over some, younger adults because, in the military, obviously there's a lot more discipline, a lot more organization. And I've been able to kind of use those tools that I got from the Air Force to apply into my, career moving forward in, media and photography. So I definitely appreciate, the discipline. I don't think there's many days in the work that I'm doing now that even comes close to some of the hard days I had, up there. So definitely just kind of toughened my skin a bit, and also just taught me a lot of things that I can apply to today.
Before we deep dive into what you're doing right now with photography, tell me what do you remember the most about working at KMOT? You were like behind the scenes in production and also worked on commercials.
Yeah, I think it was really cool to get that production assistant experience and kind of just see that kind of routine stuff that, like, granted every show was different, but like just every day we had the same kind of, get to the rhythm. And I had just started over at MSU after I had separated. So it was probably like 4 months after I had separated the Air Force. I was already, working backstage for a news outlet. And that was a really cool experience, just thrown right into the mix there. Got a lot of good experience. And then when I moved over to the creative services side, that was really cool to work with Paul and Corey, some of the best in the business, and just really got to learn a lot underneath them. They're definitely wizards in the video production world, and it was just really cool to get to work side by side with them.
Where would you say your love for photography comes from?
I think I always kind of had like a small side knack for it. I never really saw it as like something that I would pursue indefinitely. In fact, when I first got out of the Air Force and went to Minot State full time, I was a broadcasting student, and I was convinced that I was just going to talk about sports. I definitely kind of wanted to get into sports and stuff, and I thought I was going to try and be a sports caster and not really focus on the video or even photography side. Because prior to that, I had just kind of maybe played around with the camera on like trips and stuff, take pictures when I go to national parks and stuff. But it was always something, I was always on auto mode. Like I never really, thought much of it. But then I'm at Minot State, and, I was friends with Devin Shumway, Jaron Homiston, and they were doing all this cool stuff with cameras and stuff. And I was like, maybe I should pick it back up. And then next thing you know, I started volunteering to shoot sports for the campus newspaper. And I went to a softball game and picked up the camera that the newspaper lent me. And as soon as I took my first couple shots, I was like, I just felt this rush of like, this is it. This is like, it's just like my eyes open. I was just like, I don't know, like something about it. I every time someone asked me how it started, I go back to that day. I literally remembered the first softball game I shot, and the shots were crap compared to what I shoot now, but I can't explain it. It was just this joy that I was like, and I still carry that into every game I shoot today. It's, I don't know, something about it, just the creative aspect combined with sports you can't beat it for me.
Can you ballpark a guess of how many photos you've taken over the course of your entire photography career?
Oof, that's tough because some games, especially with my most recent camera, I'm probably pulling out like 1,500 photos per game. I'm not editing those many. Like I'm probably editing 150 out of those thousands. But if you correlate every game to about 1,500 photos, and then you think about how many games, combined with like Saber Dogs especially, there's a lot of games for that season. And I volunteered towards the end of their season last season. You got hockey. I mean, I don't know. It'd be really interesting. I could maybe one day, I don't know if I want to even know the number, but I could one day pop into my hard drive and see if I could get a count on it. But it's got to be hundreds of thousands, I would say.
How do you narrow it down? Like, you have 1,500 from a game, and like, do you just look at your camera in the moment and mark her down, or do you look literally at a grid of 1,500 pics and then you can quickly choose what the good ones are from there?
Well, I use at first I used to go through the entire grid in like Adobe Bridge or other programs, and it would kill like an hour of time, and it just took so long. So what I started doing is during the game I have a function in my camera to like star images. So if I'm shooting a sport, say like baseball, where there's kind of more time in between the action shots, I can easily go back to the image preview and star images that I know I'm going to go back and go back and edit, and I'll star them, based like I'll do a 1 star for like a good play, a 2 star for something awesome, and then go up from there, and then 5 star. I'm like, I know for sure this is like a good shot. Mm-hmm. But for faster sports where there's not as much time, say like hockey, I actually kind of use this shot marking way in a different way, where I'll say I shoot a really good play, I will just aim my camera at the floor or something like completely like the ice or something white, and I'll just shoot that quick, and then that way when I'm going back and looking at a grid of thousands of images, I can see those black squares and white squares, and I know that there's a good shot in between them.
Yeah, I got you. That's how we mark our clips too, like the color bars or whatever on the TV cameras when I'm at a game too. Yeah. So how have you been able to network around Minot to get this photography work? I mean, you're not just doing MSU, you're doing a lot of like, you've done like Legion Baseball and stuff. How do you get in touch with people that want to hire you?
It's been an amazing network of a bunch of people that I appreciate. Noah Roberts helped me get in network with the KMOT world. I thank Shawn Arbo, especially now recently. He's brought me in as his intern, and he's been doing sports photography in the Minot area much longer than I have, and he's had his connections. That's how I got into the Heilman's Performance Invitational. He brought me in to assist him with that, and then he also has made connections where he's if he can't make it to something, he sometimes has tossed my name into the hat, into the local high school sports realm. Saber Dogs again, was just another great opportunity that came from networking. It's great that like Minot's area is such a tight knit community that it's almost too easy to network here because everyone is so intertwined and connected in a way that's really special. So, I've just by talking to people, by showing my work, obviously having a strong portfolio, I think it's just really helped me move up and up the ladder here.
I figured that Shawn would mean something to what you've been able to do around here, and you kind of just answered that. So I'll ask, like, how did you guys first get connected and start working together?
It all started from I was obviously shooting softball for the school newspaper back in the spring semester of 2019, and it was actually at that same first game. I've got my little Canon Rebel 6 from the newspaper, and I'm shooting, and the camera's like pew pew, and then all of a sudden behind me I hear 12 frames a second shutter, and I'm like, who is that? So I turn around, and it's this guy, and he's got this big old camera and big old lens, and I was just like, oh, cool, but it ended up being Shawn, and I introduced myself, I think, in between one of the innings, and he was just like, yeah, I'm the athletics photographer, and then we saw each other at the games more and more and more, and then after a while, I just, I kind of stayed shooting with the newspaper, and then over the course of this past summer, he had me help out with, like I said, the Howman's performance thing, and we started talking about more opportunities, kind of moving myself up from the ladder of shooting newspaper to getting involved with the athletic department, and one thing after another, he brought me in as his intern, and now through that, I'm the assistant photographer for Minot State Athletics, which is an incredible opportunity. I'm so grateful for Shawn for helping me and taking me under his wing.
Something else that you pretty much just had the keys to this summer was working with the Saber Dogs. Just won Best Social Media. Congrats on that. How valuable has that experience been for you? Not only taking the pics, but kind of representing the brand and identity of a team online.
It was incredible because me as kind of not a one-man show, but as far as the social media, the photography, and the video, I was one person responsible for all of that. And I think as a portfolio piece, I hate to toot my own horn, but I think it's going to stand on its own really strong, because I was not only live tweeting, but taking the photos, and it just really showcases my range as far as what I can do in this industry. I can be on the sidelines taking a photo. I was able to live tweet photos from a home run on several occasions where I had the photo from the home run. I tweeted that the home run had happened with the photo within the course of 2-3 minutes from the actual home run being hit. So just showing off that skill set to higher levels once I have graduated and I'm ready to move on from this area, I think it's going to be a really strong portfolio piece. I'm very thankful for the Saber Dogs staff for trusting me with all that responsibility, and I think that the award also speaks its measure that we were able to accomplish what I came in to do, which was when they brought me on, we wanted to be the best social media in the Expedition League, and I'm glad to say that we were successful in doing so.
There was one shot, I think it was a Bo McClintock home run, where you must have been behind the center field fence, and you took a bunch of photos, and it looked like a flip book effect, his trot to first. How did you come up with that composition?
With the shot, where I was positioned.
Yeah, I mean, what made you think I could pull this off from far away, because it looked really cool?
I think I was just after shooting so many games at Corbett from the dugouts, I was just I need to find something else to do, and just kind of took a stroll. I asked Todd to open one of the gates for me back there, and took a stroll past the fences, and I was like, it's either going to work or it's not, and it ended up being a really cool composition, so I was glad that it did work. But it was just a means of trying to do something different, because can only be shooting the same angles for so often before it kind of becomes too repetitive. And I also wanted to give the fans on social media a different perspective, and thankfully Bo went deep, and I had the right focus, I had the right angle, and I was able to capture it all the way through his celebration at the end. So really cool shot for me.
Yeah, like how many times does it like really work out? Like the plan goes according to plan.
For baseball, more often than most sports, because it's kind of easier to like focus on a batter and where he's gonna walk and run and stuff. But for other sports, say for like hockey, I end up with a lot more out of focus shots than I would like to admit. But it's just because it moves so quickly, and shooting between glass and stuff, you're making your camera work more for the shot. But I'm definitely thankful for baseball sometimes, because it is a lot not slower of a sport, but it's more predictable, and it's in the positioning of the players for that.
Yeah, I don't think like they don't give you like the camera holes, like the cut glass at the Mesa Arena, right? So they'll have to set you up better.
No, yeah, there's that one hole on the far side that I sometimes shoot through, or I'll just sit in the middle of the benches. But yeah, for the most part, you shoot between the glass.
So I definitely mean to ask it this way: what are your big picture, quote unquote, photography career goals? What do you want to do, like down the road?
I definitely just want to keep moving up the ladder. My number one goal is just to have a camera on the sideline or ringside or whatever it is for a sport, whether that be Division I college or National League sport somewhere. But I'm not. Everyone asks me like what sport, what team. I'm not really picky. I just want to do it professionally. I want to do it at the highest level that I can. That's what I'm set out to do. Pretty much.
Why did you? This is a different interest question. What made you want to start a project like the Diversity Club at MSU, and what does that kind of entail for you and people that want to get involved?
Basically, it was just a thought based on the events that transpired over the spring and the summer. It was just a way that I wanted to, a lot of the perspectives on things that have been happening in this country have been really negative and really based on, what's going wrong, what's bad, what's negative, and I wanted to start something that made for a positive outlook and a more forward approach, not so based on past events or past things, which are important to reflect on, but I wanted to give something for the Minot student body that they could take moving forward, because I'm graduating here, not this December, but the next December. So I'm trying to lay a foundation that, the next student could take, moving forward, and just create a place that conversations that need to be had or can be had, and a place that students know that there's good discussion happening as far as inclusiveness and equality across all fronts. Like, my biggest thing is that it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. It's just an extra, because the Minot State community is so tight knit, and there's not a inclusiveness or diversity problem at Minot State, but there's no reason that we can't have those conversations and always strive to move forward on that front. So.
Yeah. So getting into your other sports interests here, just professional level here, how much have you liked the Arizona Cardinals moves and how they've been playing so far this year? They looked pretty decent.
Yeah, they look all right. I wasn't expecting the moves that they made to really push us in any sort of direction, but I've been happy with what I've seen so far. We'll see how the game goes against the Cowboys, but yeah, it's been exciting to see, especially DeAndre Hopkins, come over, and hopefully him and Kyler Murray can really connect moving forward in the season. And as a Cardinals fan, I'm always just looking to have a fun season. I'm not looking, or having high expectations to be met, but it's always a good time.
It's also nice that, this will be on after that game that you were talking about, but it'll be nice to have them on a national stage, because I feel like they sort of get lost in it sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. What about the Diamondbacks here? I mean, how can they contend in the National League, man? I think we might, just like the Rockies, they'll have a little bit of time to catch up to the Dodgers, right, or what?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was really surprised in their trade moves. They kind of gave away some stalwart veterans that I would have thought really added to our bullpen. And we're going. It looked like we were going for youth, and it looked like kind of like a mini rebuild. But I was interested to see how we take that, how we move forward, what we do in the next off season. And I know we have some talent. We have an incredible youthful talent, but whether or not it starts paying off sooner or later, we'll see. But it's always kind of disappointing to be second best to the Dodgers or third best in the NL West. But I think we could contend in a few years again. So we'll see.
Yeah, it was tough having Goldschmidt leave, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Goldschmidt, Greinke. We've just had a lot of tough exits in the past few years, which it doesn't make sense to me, as a fan. And I hate to be that overly critical fan, but it's just like sometimes you're wondering what are we doing? But
yeah, well, welcome to being a Phillies fan, I guess, too. So,
yeah.
just to kind of put a bow on this, obviously a great, good bit of photography topics that we've gone over, but as you start to work independently here, how do people get in touch with you if they see the Josh Strong LLC pics? I mean, how do people book you? How does that work? Where can they find you?
They can go to my website, which is just joshuawstrong.com, and there's a contact tab, or if they'd like to view my portfolio. Also, any games that I do attend that I'm hired for, the pics are available on the website for sale there, just under the galleries tab, or if they want to contact me via email, that's joshua.w.strong@outlook.com, and my email is also listed on my website.
All right, the site's Joshua W. Strong. How'd you come up with that?
Basically, it's just my name. I kind of, at first I had a different name called Strong Shot Productions, but I felt like it had the context that people were hiring like a production firm, and I just kind of wanted to, before I officially registered my business, I kind of just rebranded to just represent myself, because when someone's hiring me, I really pride myself on giving them, a very personable yet professional experience, whether that's with sports photography, commercial work, or even senior pictures. Like I'm very based on my brand of giving a personal experience. I'm not a photographer to kind of be like, oh, well, this is how many images you paid for. It's very much so I want to deliver the best results for you, as a person. So naming my company after just myself is just really just speaks to that you're hiring me, as much as an individual, as a professional.
Yeah, so what were like some of the other chances that you've had outside of sports to work with photography?
I've done a few. I definitely, if it wasn't sports, if sports doesn't work out, I love commercial photography. So if there's any local businesses looking to get some branding photos for their social media pages or for their website, I love doing that sort of work. I worked with Motion Impact, which is a nonprofit brand started by Ryan Fila, Minot State alumni. He had clothing items, and he shipped me an entire arsenal of clothing items to both myself, Shawn and Devin Shumway, and we did a large-scale photo shoot with all his clothing brands and kind of built him a image database for his clothing line that he started, and I had a lot of fun doing that. Even just recently with the women's and men's basketball teams at Minot State, I did a photo shoot with like their sneakers and their balls, and that was really fun. So if I didn't work with sports, I would love doing commercial work, because it's really cool to kind of do some creative things with products, and I've just had a lot of fun doing that.
It's awesome, man. Well, hey, we'll definitely stay in touch here, and everybody, I'm sure, appreciates the work that you do, Josh. And yeah, thanks for coming on, man. We'll see you then.
Thank you for